Good morning. You're listening to My Rapids Real Estate Show on AM 1320 WFHR, your weekly radio show focusing on real estate, the market, and everything related to housing in central Wisconsin. So welcome back. I'm Ben.
And I'm Carrie, Nikolai.
And we are agents with Coldwell Banker Siewert Realtors here in Wisconsin Rapids. And we have a very special guest this week.
We do.
And
okay, so I feel like we totally missed like an introduction here. We didn't do our usual, you're my husband, along with the licensed assistant, or did I just like totally miss that?
No, we just skipped right over that.
Okay, because, usually there's a little bit of banter between us before we jump into who our special guest is. So totally off center here. So,
well, we have a lot to talk about with
apparently
Shane Blaser, Mayor of Wisconsin Rapids.
All right. Well, welcome, Shane.
Thank you.
So do you go by Shane or do you go by Mayor Shane? I mean, if we met you on the street, how do we address you?
I struggle with titles. I'm Shane, and anytime I answer the phone, people call me Mayor. I'm like, no, it's Shane. I'm a Shane, and that's what I'm always going to be.
All right. Well, it's kind of nice. I mean, you're down to earth. You're like an average person,
Absolutely.
So that's cool. All right.
That's my goal.
Is your goal to be an average person?
Yes, I'm fine with being an average person.
Awesome.
I've known you for quite a while. Interactions with the city, at least 20 years now.
At least, yes.
So you've been with the city in a number of different forms and fashions for a long while.
Yeah, sadly, I always say that I have a loyalty to my family, but maybe not to a job. So I don't mind moving around. And so, originally in, I think, December of 97, I started with the police department.
Okay.
And so I worked there for a number of years and went to Water and Light, and I got elected. I was city clerk and then city council and the mayor.
And now you're in the chief's seat of the
You're in the big
council.
chair.
Yeah,
the big chair.
Yep, the big chair.
Very good. So, Carrie, go ahead, start firing away with the questions, because we're excited about Wisconsin Rapids. It's a real nice place to live.
It is. And, we just left the city, and do have to say, moving to the city way back in 2009 was it was fabulous. It was great. We were downtown, kind of in the center city. We were just a couple blocks off of A Street, which was great. Everything was within a walking distance, and was really, really happy. But one of the things that I really noticed is coming from Nakusa, I didn't know like the ins and outs of Rapids. At the time, I don't even think we had a pool. I don't think Rapids had a pool.
Yeah, I think we're...
or was Mead still up and running?
The east side one over by the clock tower was down. I think west side was down for repairs, and they were kind of in flux at that time.
Right. So there was a lot of improvements. So we now have a new water park here in Rapids. So new homeowner, where do I go to get my water pass? So that way I can send the kids. Do they have to be supervised by an adult, or can I just go, here's the babysitter, and go to the water park and go play?
So, they prefer not to be babysitters because of the amount of people that attend the water park. We want to keep our lifeguards focusing on, trying to make sure that they're safe. And if people can have their parent or guardian with them, it would be a great help. But the pool passes are gotten through the Park and Rec department. So you can go up there. You can get a year pass up there. Residents can get a 5-punch pass where it's a reduced fee. They try to streamline the process at the aquatic center. So there's only one fee. So when you come in the door, you pay everybody pays like the non-resident fee. But if you're a resident, you can get a punch pass at our Park and Rec department, which will give you a reduced cost.
Do I have to prove that? Okay. So if I go to the pool, I would say today, but it's not open. But in theory, today, I'm going to go take my kids there, and how do I prove that I'm a resident? I mean, if they ask me, are you a resident of I keep saying Nakusa.
Got the hometown girl.
I know, I got the hometown in me, and it's always fun. So, I'm a resident of Wisconsin Rapids. I just moved here. I don't even have a driver's license. It still says Nakusa, but just moved here. How do I prove that I'm a city resident?
So when you go to the aquatics park, everybody's considered a non-resident. So just for the ease of the admissions staff, so they don't have to check.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be a lot quicker on the process. So if you're a resident and want to get a pool pass, you're going to do that ahead of time. You're going to come in. You can prove. They can look you up in our system. They can also, if you've previously been in Park and Rec programs, that's in the system. And then you can get a punch pass, or you can buy a season pass, a resident or a non-resident season pass. They have a veterans pass that's a little cheaper, and they also have can't remember what it's called, but basically, if you're not going to use the pass, but you're going to be supervising your kids, you don't have to pay the full water rate. You can get a reduced rate.
Okay.
If you're just going to be the mom sitting in the lawn chair reading your book, then you don't have to pay for the full pass.
Oh, excellent. Now, can I also do this online? Can I just go on the city's website, which I believe is wisconsinrapids.com?
.org.
.org. There we go. I came close.
Yep. Well, it's wirapids.org.
Okay. So if we did that, and can I fill something out online and have the pass mailed to me or picked up at the water park? Or are we not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay. But in theory,
the whole resident, non-resident type thing, that's, they need to be able to verify that. And they have to do that in person currently.
Okay. Excellent. But what is it? Okay. So opening up. When is opening day for the water park?
I believe it's June 1st. It is. Our biggest challenge with the water park is staffing. And maybe it's June 7th.
It's somewhere first part of June.
Yeah, it's first part of June. Is staffing. So most of our staff are high school and college kids. And so we have to wait for them to be out of school. College kids need to be out of school. And so that's probably the biggest complaint is that we close early and we start late. But we're really tied to staff. And, most adults don't seek to have a lifeguarding job. And we hired, I think this year, about 30 lifeguards. So
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe it's 16 to 18 per day are on staff because you're talking the different pools, the water slides, the top slide, the bottom slide. Plus they have to rotate, and they have to, they rotate like every 15 minutes or so. And then one of the rotations is out of the sun and out of the pool. And then they're like basically a break. So they're fresh, and that's why you never see them working in one spot for a very long time, because then you get complacent over time. So it's constantly changing. And so you have to have a lot of guards to do that. And that's just the lifeguard aspect. And I'm not sure how many concession admissions people that are hired too to cover that aspect. So they do hire a lot of staff, and we're really, really determined based on, that age group. And it's tough because we'd like to maybe stay open a little later, especially.
I think that's a consistent challenge every year with all the water parks is on this local level, from the splash pads up to a big facility like what we have.
Exactly.
And it's probably tricky because we're not a college town. We're kind of off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah, and you're right though. If we were more of a college town, then we'd have maybe a little flexibility in scheduling, and it'd be a lot easier.
Excellent. So there are a lot of amenities in the city that maybe someone coming into the area, especially if they're moving from a smaller community or even a major metropolitan, might think, oh, well, Rapids is just a small town. Do they have police and fire and EMS protection? And we do. We've got really good fire service for sure.
Yeah, I think I moved here. My family's from here. My grandfather started Tri-City Refrigeration back in like 1934. So my family's been around for a while, but my mother was a teacher in Janesville for a year, and that's when I was born. And I came here when I was a year. So I've been here ever since. And so I kind of take what we have for granted.
Right.
And I always rely on my assistant, Emily, who's newer to the community, because she's always jazzed about different things in the community. Rapids has this and Rapids has that. And I'm like, we've always had that. And to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal, which is really kind of a disservice because there are many great things in our community. And she always reminds me about those good things that we have in our community that a lot of other places don't have. And she appreciates it. She has a whole different appreciation for it.
And we have a really cool walking path system that was finished up last year, kind of in either before COVID or like a little bit after COVID. We had some walking paths that were finished up, and that's really neat that we have those systems already here, and we're just now kind of expanding some of those. So we do you want to talk a little bit about those walking paths?
Yeah, so we do have a number of paths, and you can actually go up to Barron and take a path and get all the way to Nakusa, through our trail system here, whether you want to bike or walk or rollerblade. And so we do have a good connection of paths there. The aim and the goal is eventually to make it a loop, because you get to one end and you turn around and you come back. And so it'd be really nice to eventually to come up with a loop so you can always be on a path and take, I'd like to see different loops, that whether you want to ride a bike or train for a marathon, you would have these different loops that you can do. But it is a nice aspect and feature. And a lot of people really enjoy these new paths for rollerblading. Mm-hmm. My daughter's taking advantage of that with her friends going rollerblading through the downtown and up to Barron.
And it helps that we've got the bridges along the way, so those can kind of be a cutoff point to start looping back. Mm-hmm. I know that was one of the nice things about where we used to live in town, because it was so close to those, just another half mile, and poof, we were right next to the walking path.
It was a full mile to the walking path.
Oh, it depends how fast you walk.
That's true. Well, it's still distance.
So if you walk slow, then it takes it's a little longer distance.
Feels like it.
But yeah, it was really nice to be, we're a mile from the start of the path. So we were a mile from the hospital. So that's where we started, was down by the hospital. So if you walked from bridge to bridge and then back home, it was a nice 4-mile walk. But then if you wanted to go further, it's like, okay, well, how can I figure this out to make this a little bit longer? Because you're right, trying to train for a marathon, you need to have at least at 26.2 miles.
Right.
And so trying to figure out, okay, what's the safest way of doing that and being on a path that you don't have to look out for cars. Because after a while, you just kind of zone out and you run and you don't pay attention.
I trained for a half marathon at one point, and I would walk to 16th and Pepper by Lincoln High School there, and that was kind of my starting point. And I'd start there and I'd start running, and I'd run all the way out to Wazeecha down the expressway, around Wazeecha and back to 16th and Pepper, and that was 10 miles. Mm-hmm. And then I'd walk home for a cool down. But yeah, so that's even part of the trail system that you can go out you can head out east and you can go around Wazeecha and come back, and you're all pretty much connected. And with Grand Rapids, we did an agreement with them, and there's an old railroad bed there, and so pretty much from 32nd Street, they're going to create a path there, and that's going to go out to Wazeecha, and you won't have to go out on, because over by once you get up by the old Wood Trust Bank, then you're back on the roadways. Well, here it's going to be a new pathway out to Wazeecha on that old railroad bed. And
that's going to be really fun to kind of watch. Construction's always fun to watch, not drive through, but to watch.
Yep. And it'll be nice. It'll be a hard packed surface, so you can walk or ride your bike on it. And it's still a snowmobile route in the winter. And so it's going to be a nice feature coming out in the Grand Rapids here.
Well, that'd be good.
Because being in the city, and, especially people who have been in the city for a while, they don't necessarily realize how much other activities are in Grand Rapids and Port Edwards, Nakusa, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to join the community and make everybody a little bit stronger.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are stronger together as a group. And even though we have some of our own identities and stuff, we're still a community, because we all border each other.
Yeah. And we have a really neat, Rapids has a really neat outdoor fitness center. So that was a really neat aspect to add to the city. So that way you can have this really neat outdoor activity center. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of fun. I would walk down there about 6:00 in the morning, and people would be out there doing yoga.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was always kind of fun to go down there just to see who was out there. It was always different groups.
No, 6:00 in the morning is meant to be slept, in my opinion.
Yes, mine as well. Right. It was also
unless you're hunting.
Convenient timing too, because that project was kind of wrapping up in 2019, and then the pandemic hit last year. So having an outdoor activity space sort of fit that need a little bit too.
Right. So. And it's a great little asset, a little great thing for families moving into the area of, if I came from a bigger city, it seems like every bigger city seems to have an outdoor fitness center or a walking, there's a fitness loop. Yep. And coming to Rapids, it was something that was missing, and it was great that the city identified that and was able to address it and just put in a very nice loop. Is there six or eight
stations.
Something like that.
And I believe those were all donated too.
Right. And they're different skill levels. So it's got the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced. So if you wanted to, you could work on it and do it all 3 times just to see how much fun that would be.
So a lot of these civil projects, I mean, a lot of these civil projects are really like spearheaded by either community groups or, by the city themselves. So are there any other like projects like this kind of up and coming that you're excited about?
So right now I think part of the reason why I was elected is, I think we're taking more of a pause on projects, because also when we do these projects, they create new maintenance. We, with the riverfront, we have $50,000 rough new maintenance that we have to figure out in budgets. And I think, and then we're trying to also figure out the operational costs, what truly are going to be at the aquatic center. So right now there is no major projects, recreational type projects planned at this moment. Our big project we have is fire department coming up. And so that's probably the big project outside of our normal road construction project this year. Also, there's some flood mitigation you're going to see built up along the path of the river, kind of by the state building, where all that flooding happened. They're going to rebuild that and try to have a better or higher bank. Okay. So hopefully mitigate some of the flood there. There's a big dredging project that's going to take place on, I call them the ponds and the creeks because I grew up off Lincoln Street and we played in them ponds and creeks, but they're going to be dredged and they're going to be improved for stormwater reasons. So we have a lot of those projects going on, kind of more maintenance.
And a lot of those, aren't as public facing either. So people don't seem to appreciate that quite as much just because of that. I had kind of in 2019 taken sort of an interest into kind of the city government works and, sat in a bunch of council meetings and the committees and whatnot, just for fun. Because it's amazing the conversations that happen.
Do go on. I mean, you get a topic going and next thing you know, I mean, it's almost to get a bowl of popcorn out and just kind of watch it all happen.
But
we've all seen those.
One of the things, Joe Terry knows a lot about the infrastructure in town. And he was mentioning one time, gosh, like the underbelly of the sewers and waterworks, all that side of things is super, super old, like over 100 years. So coordinating all those projects, with road work and all that coordination is just a headache of its own.
Yeah, so that's become a priority in the community, and it has been for a little while, is that if we rip off a road surface, we are going to make sure that we replace that infrastructure. So that coordination all occurs between water and light, the storm water utility, or the water and wastewater utility, and then also our streets. So you're talking street for ride quality. You're talking obviously stormwater and wastewater and water. All those have to be aligned to be at the right time to be replaced, because we don't want to put down a new street surface and 5 years later cut open it, because the ride quality is always ruined. Yeah. So the goal is to coordinate to make sure those things are all done near the end of life. Now, and so we've been getting better at that, but the problem is that we are not replacing enough road fast enough to be sustainable. By the time that road comes around again, it's going to be all well past the time and through its life. So we're trying to figure out, I don't know how we can do that, aside from throwing more money at it. And throwing more money at projects like that obviously is higher taxes or fees, or and you have to find that balance, and right now we just don't have that balance.
Well, that's the easy solution, just throw money at it.
Yeah, and government's good at that and I'm not good at that, and I do not support that. And we all pay enough taxes, and
yes, we do. And we're appreciative, that being concerned about our investment and finding even creative ways to fund some of those things. Like the aquatic center was funded, by a lot of private sponsorship too.
And about $9 million worth of borrowing.
Yep.
It's a lot better than borrowing the full.
When we talk with homeowners about borrowing money for a mortgage, and whenever I hear that conversation in government, I'm like, oh my goodness, I know what a mortgage looks like. To borrow that money in government, I think it's kind of the same thing, but different set of parameters.
The problem with government borrowing is that when you buy a home, you get a benefit from paying it off early. There is no payoff benefit in government borrowing, because if I'm a bank, I'm looking to buy that loan because it could be $10 million. I'm looking for a long-term investment.
Okay.
So we don't get that benefit of paying it off early and saving that interest. There's a couple call dates near the end of the life of a loan that you can kind of refinance and maybe try to save a little bit. But the goal is when they borrow us money, they want us to borrow it for the whole 20 years. And we don't get that payoff benefit, which is a disservice, but I can understand from the other end of it.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned fire department construction. Yep. What's that project going on?
So it's since I've been on council myself and another council member, Lee Graff, who's no longer on council, kind of champion that because have you ever been to the fire department? I'm sure you have been.
Station 1?
Yep. So have you ever been back in the live quarters back there? I never really was, even when I was a police officer. I've never been kind of back where they sleep. And I always compare it to, I've been saying on council, it's a step up from deer camp. I'm actually, I really feel bad that.
I always thought it looked like Boy Scout camp or Girl Scout camp.
Pretty much.
And if I remember right, it was like almost lime green flooring with the shag carpeting, where they were watching TV and just kind of like the ricketiest.
Yeah, it's really
seating.
It's really kind of sad though. You go back also where the beds are, and it's like dorm rooms, but they don't go all the way to the ceiling, and they have like 2 beds in there, and right now they have a shower curtain kind of closing it off, and you have a bunch of rooms like that in a row, and yeah, it's not very. I think it's really kind of a disservice to our firefighters, and that they have to live there for 24 hours, and they're trying to take care of us and be ready. And it was time to update that, especially because of the gender inequality. We have female firefighters. Fire departments weren't built with female locker rooms because that was not a thing in the past. So I thought it was very important that we update. So they're going to go to a dormitory type setting, like a dorm room, but it's going to have a bed and a desk in it, and it'll have a door closed, and the walls will go to the ceiling, and then there'll be a female locker room and a male locker room. And also, as long as we're doing that, they're trying to address some of the health and safety concerns with carcinogens from fires. If they go to fires, before they had to walk through the living quarters to get back into the locker room. And so you're taking those carcinogens on yourself and tracking through the living quarters. So now there's going to be a decontamination center right off the bay, and they'll be able to go in there, get their turnout gear, put that in their turnout washer and dryers. And then there'll be a shower facility right there. So they're not tracking those carcinogens through their living quarters. So that's the big project on the Fire Station 1. Fire Station 2 is they have a quite a bit bigger living space up there. So there's going to be a remodel up there. That's not a very big remodel, but then we'll have a female and a male area for locker rooms and sleeping.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's long overdue.
Are they going to keep the fire pole?
As far as I know, yes.
Because I think every firehouse needs to have a fire pole.
Yep.
Even though I think one is just a single story building, I'm hoping that there is a fire pole there.
I don't recall. I don't think there is one.
I think it should just be added in. just for
nostalgic.
For nostalgic.
Yep.
They should have a checklist. A fire station has these particular things.
Dog name spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your black and white dog or whatever.
So with the new firehouse that's going to be renovated, I don't want to say new one being built, but it's going to be a renovation.
Yep.
So one just has okay, so those who are not familiar with what we're talking about, Fire Station 1, that is the fire station by the old Shopko.
Correct.
Okay, so that house is going to have to go through a major renovation. We're going to have to expand a little bit to the east and a little bit to the south.
Correct.
Because of certain city ordinances
Setbacks.
and the setbacks that everyone has to follow, including the fire department, we need to take out from one side and then take out some of the parking lot as well.
Correct.
Okay.
And so it's unfortunately, it is obviously anything in government seems to have many zeros on it. So it is a couple $1 million. And so that will be borrowed and hopefully we'll get at least 20 years out of that. That's the goal. Because, eventually long term here, we're going to need, the street department they have parts of that building that are from the 1940s that they use on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And so it's becoming very outdated. And, at some point we have to bite the bullet and do something out over there in a building. And whether that includes maybe a new like annex on a fire station that can house some people there also, because the other station is not handicap accessible. So that station 2 really doesn't have a lot of good public use.
Right.
And so on station 1, they're putting a little training room on there that's handicap accessible so that they can use that meeting space for other firefighters that might need some handicap accessibility.
Excellent.
Now, with my background doing some facilities maintenance for a couple of years, if you don't schedule maintenance for your facilities, they'll just go ahead and schedule it for you. And it's always at, the negative degrees in the middle of winter right before Christmas and costs you 5 times as much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It literally does.
And when the aquatic center was first built and we took a tour with that, I was just in awe. And also being a pool maintenance guy and facilities with that, there's all the work that's going to be in 20 years when those pumps need to be remaintenanced and all that jazz.
You've seen that mechanical room.
Yeah, it's huge. But
big pumps.
And it's laid out well though, because there's been thought process to what happens when we have to change a pump, mm-hmm. and then change out the filter media and all that stuff. So it's been well thought of and taken into consideration.
Yeah, and so this year we ended up hiring a second maintenance person, and that person will have that experience, and they're going to be assigned to the aquatics during that season, and then during the rest of the season, they're going to help us get on a better maintenance program so we can start doing preventative maintenance. Because right now we have a maintenance gentleman who just tries to keep up. He's just constantly putting out fires, and so the second guy will be able to help us maybe establish a better maintenance program so we can be a little more proactive on maintaining what we have instead of reacting to the problems.
Mm-hmm.
So does the city have, I was of the mindset that maintenance for a particular building was kind of handled within that building, like City Hall would have its own maintenance person, or does the city crew just have a maintenance person that handles all the maintenance for all the buildings?
So we have a gentleman who does the maintenance on all the buildings. So he works technically for our Park and Rec department, building and maintenance.
Sure.
And so he's assigned there, and then so he just constantly puts out fires and is sent to wherever, whether it be changing out ballasts and light bulbs. And he's got a HVAC background. This new one has pumps and things like that. So they have opposite skills, and so it's really going to be an asset to the organization. But they are responsible for maintaining all the different problems in every building that we have, whether it be in the park systems, fire department, street department, City Hall. They just kind of go wherever they're needed.
That's awesome. One of the things why I was curious about city government back a couple years ago was to learn all those little nuances. Mm-hmm. You have conceptions, preconceived notions about how things run, and it's like, it doesn't always fit that mold of which I thought. So, well, back to the city amenities. So, what are some other exciting things that your assistant is sharing with you?
She's always impressed with the activities we have in our parks, our programming, whether it be through Park and Rec programming. The zoo is an amazing place that not many communities our size have a zoo like that. So she's excited about that.
And I think with the zoo, isn't it all of the area farms donate some of their animals for the weekend or for the summer? They just kind of hang out there, because I remember someone had the camel, and the camel had to get moved on a certain day, and it was like the first day of school or the second day of school. So the kid had to
get his
There was some,
Camelback.
yeah, I had to go get the Camelback. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
I-
that was the big thing.
There might be some from maybe from the petting zoo area, but
Okay.
now I believe most things are from rent a zoo, so they kind of rent zoo animals and then bring them in for the summer months. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I'll be curious to see what we get this year. But they've been doing a lot of work at the zoo. They've put a new entrance in, and then they've done a parrot cage, a new cage there, and then last year there was a new roof put over the bear cage system, and we're gonna in the spring here we're improving where the duck pond is. We're gonna get that cleaned up and repaint that and get that looking nice and getting ready for the visitors.
Excellent.
Now, is there a cost for the zoo? I haven't been there in ages.
No, I think the only cost for the zoo is if you want to buy some feed.
Oh,
But
sure.
otherwise, nope, you can just go in there and use it. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it's really a nice amenity that is open to the public during their hours.
And I believe the master gardeners also take care of like the plants that are in there because there is a touch and feel plant area. If I remember right. I mean, I haven't been to the zoo in almost 2 years, only because of the current situation. We're going to call it COVID. But yeah, I mean, I think there was the master gardeners do take care of that touch and feel plant area.
Yeah, there's quite a garden space in there with a lot of plants and flowers, and a lady who had been taking care of it for the last couple of years, and I believe last year she was awarded the Jefferson Award.
Okay.
Through Marshfield Hospital, I believe it is, clinic or a hospital system, and Channel 9 came down and gave kind of did a piece on her, but she was retiring. So we're trying to figure out how we can maintain that level of garden with our staff. So they're kind of working on that, and because it is amazing. It
is.
The planting there are next to none.
Have you reached out like to the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts and see if there is, I mean, I always think of the Eagle Scouts. I mean, they always need to come up with an Eagle project in order to have that. Have you reached out to them yet to do the whole entire?
But I know there's been some discussion because like you said, the Eagle Scouts service projects, they do contact their Park and Rec department and see if there's any projects. And up on First Street North where the old pool was, there's a donor walk that was an Eagle Scout project.
Yep.
And it was done with some of the donors. So, organ donor walk. And so we haven't had that discussion, but it's even just the weeding and there's just an astronomical amount of plantings there to try to maintain. And so we're trying to figure out how we can balance that and still have that impressive plantings out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of outdoor activities, even going out to Robinson Park, and community band shell is out there and baseball and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And then it's of course really nice to have the Whitterfield area and the rafters over there for the summertime. It'll be interesting to see how the baseball is still interacting with the pool being right next door.
We've kind of talked about with them a little bit about maybe doing some kind of coordination where come in and get a pool pass, be able to buy a pool pass and a rafters ticket. And,
sure.
Some of that
play during the day and watch the game at night.
Yep, some of that collaboration, promotion cross both venues, and
that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's something different and fun and.
And the really great thing about Rapids too is we have 2 recycling centers. I keep calling it recycling center, but it's the compost site.
Oh yes,
I keep calling it the recycling center,
absolutely
and
right.
It is a great place to drop off plants that you don't want and have them go to someone else or your grass clippings.
Yeah, people are very serious about our compost sites on the east and the west side. The one by Home Depot and the one off of 17th Avenue, kind of down by the railroad tracks down there, and they do accept like you said. Whether it be brush or compost or, grass clippings, leaves. The west side accepts, like, if you break out a concrete walk, they'll take the concrete there because we'll eventually, every so often we bring in a concrete crusher because that also is part of our road base. And so that's you reuse there. And they are a great amenity in this community. And
so moving into Rapids, coming from Nakusa, now Nakusa in the city, we had the curbside pickup. So you just dumped everything you didn't want to out by the street. The city would come by and pick it up. It was pretty cool. But Rapids, you have to take it to one of their two places. Or we're going to talk about storm damage next here a little bit because they go kind of hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are used to that where, we can do the grass clippings on the side of the road. So if we're not used to that, and if I just did dump my grass clippings, is the city pretty polite about that, of coming up and knocking on the door and saying, hey, we don't really do this, but here's our compost sites, locations?
I honestly have not heard anybody ever
do
talk
that
about putting the clippings out by the road. Now, they do have curbside pickup for grass clippings and also brush. But the clippings have to be in a craft bag or a paper, those large paper bags you can get from Ace Hardware or Home Depot. And they do have a schedule, I think a monthly schedule, that they'll pick that up and you leave it by the road. And then I think they use an old garbage truck. And that's been part of the problem because once those garbage trucks are gone, we have to figure out a different system.
Right.
Because when we went to the single, we can talk about garbage pickup.
Oh, yes, the garbage pickup is fun too.
Yeah, we can add that to our list here for new residents. But so we have these trucks, and the typical garbage truck that you think of, you just chuck it in the back, and then they can take that to the compost site and empty it. You don't have to worry about plastic bags and those type of things. But I've had calls from residents, and there's been discussions a little bit once in a while about trying to come up with an alternative to a type of pickup like that. Other larger communities are able to pull that off. But
I just really think it was just the city guys just driving around and they see that, Susan just mowed her lawn. So we're going to swing by Susan's house and we pick them up, and it's, they make notes of, okay, we got to go down Elm Street and pick up 3 houses there. And so that's what they do the next day or something like that. I mean, I know it's just people drive around and write down addresses of homes that they need to go stop by. It's not like an actual route.
Nope. So you actually call in and get on a list.
Okay.
And then they can kind of organize that way. But
it's kind of nice for the elderly families that we have, or those who need a little bit more assistance of, as long as I can get it in these paper bags, I can just give the city hall a call and they come and pick it up.
Yeah. What we run into in the fall though, is that, when you're trying to do leaf pickup and sometimes the bags get wet, they freeze to the ground. And so it does kind of cause a problem that some people would like to see addressed, whether it be, a way to pick it up alongside the road, just put it out to the curb and it'd be sucked up or however method they come up with. But with the miles of roads we have here, it would just really become a pretty astronomical feat on trying to, you would have to hire additional staff, equipment.
Just to do that.
That would be their job, just trying to cover all the miles of roads that we have.
Okay.
So it seems like this craft bag system seems to be the preferred way, and it's the simplest, and they're not dealing with garbage bags anymore. They can it all goes to the compost site. It's all recyclable, and eventually a couple of years later, people come and fill up their back of their trucks for compost dirt now. And so it's just kind of that cycle that goes on there.
It is great dirt. I mean, we got
we just got like
12
six pickup trucks, and we filled up
all your planters.
Yep.
2.5 truckloads per planter. So
you move to a new place, you got to have new planters and new garden and all that jazz.
And it is really the best dirt in town.
It's really good.
It really is. I mean, Rapids does a great job of producing dirt.
Yeah, and not so clean part about it, but we also produce, like Milwaukee, they have Milorganite. And it's called Class A sludge, basically from the wastewater treatment plant. Through the process, they can convert that, they take it to a drying area on the west side, and it's very good stuff for planting. And a lot of farmers like to come and get that, and it's quite a spread of stuff from the wastewater treatment plant.
Humanure.
Yes.
Right.
We'll call it Rapids Milorganite or Rapids, I don't know, but Class A. And so, we finally have a permit for that. And technically you could bag it up and sell it if you got the right permits, but it's good stuff.
circle back here to our storm damage because I told you I was going to
Yes,
come back to that. So storm damage. So, storm comes through, just kind of like not like 2019, but that's going to be like our good, focal point because we don't want to talk about 2019 storm damage because we're still picking up from that.
Correct.
But, a storm comes through, knocks down a couple branches. Can I put that out by the road? Or again, do I have to take that to a recycling center?
So you can take it to the compost site.
Okay.
Or they do have brush pickup. And so you can call down to the city garage and get on that list. And the brush guys bring that brush truck and they'll pick it up for you and feed it in their chipper and away it goes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just, and you can find all kinds of information on our website at wirapids.org. And it has the schedules for whether it be compost or, recycling schedule, garbage pickup, brush schedules, compost site hours, all that information is out there.
Excellent. That is always good.
But really to handle that, you'd need another crew as big as the garbage trucks because the garbage trucks do that, routinely throughout the week and then again and again and again.
And then you're going to have to come up with how big are those piles going to be? Because if you get someone who's got 2 acres and all of a sudden, you could have, brush from 2 acres, I know what those piles look like.
Yeah, so they have equipment with like the big jaws on the end loaders and they can just pick that up really quick and I'll put in a dump truck. But most of the time it's guys that are diverted from another job to do that. So you're not doing something else. And right now you're seeing a lot in the city is we have those catch basins, they've kind of been neglected over the last several years. And so now we're really focusing on trying to get those
cleaned up.
Reset. They've got to raise them up sometimes because they'll start to settle and sink and then it breaks out the curbing. So they've been working quite a bit on getting those caught up.
So you had mentioned single stream recycling and refuse.
Yes.
Oh, yes. The garbage trucks.
Yes, the garbage trucks. So a couple of years ago now, it's been that they went to the bin type style of pickup for garbage and recycling, and pretty much whatever you can fit in that bin, they'll take. And but our recycling is done every other week on the same day as your garbage, which is done weekly. And
there's always some. With anything new, that means we have new rules that everybody gets to follow. So
correct.
You got to make sure your garbage can, the arrow is pointing towards the street.
Absolutely.
The lid is completely closed, not like up a little bit. It's closed.
And I found out why though, because I thought, who cares if it's up halfway? What do you care? It's still in there. Well, I found out that is the reason if it's halfway and an arm grabs onto it, if the lid is up part way, it'll start bringing it up. And the stuff will fall out early. So the lid helps keep the
everything
contents in there until it's the right dump point. So people kind of get upset that, well, my lid was popped up, so they didn't take it. That's the reason why, because a lot of times they'll start falling out too early. And then they have to stop and pick it up. And it's kind of defeating the purpose of being more efficient on our pickup.
And then our garbage cans have to be socially distanced. I'm going to put it out there kind of funny like that because they cannot be next to each other, like touching each other. There needs to be at least 4 feet between the garbage cans. So our garbage cans need to be socially distanced.
Yep.
Which, it sounds kind of funny.
Very true, though.
It is.
Because they have a claw that comes around and grabs it.
Right.
And so it needs room to
do that.
Grab that.
And it's 2 different trucks that come. So the recycling truck may come first, and then the garbage truck. It's kind of fun to watch the garbage trucks now, but they need to be socially distanced.
You can always hear them coming with the brakes.
Yes.
They always have squeaky brakes.
We're never sure if it was the school buses or the garbage trucks because it kind of sounded alike.
Exactly. I don't know what it is about those big pieces of equipment, but they always have squeaky brakes.
Now, if I'm moving in, so I moved into my new place and I'm not used to Rapids garbage system. Is there a little bit of a grace period of learning so that way, I don't get fined? I put them out there. The house sold. It's the garbage personnel already know that the house has been up for sale. They can see that it's sold. So it's going to be a new person. Hopefully they can recognize that. And so the previous owner really doesn't pay attention to which side the garbage can is on. They always have it out there the wrong way. The house has been flagged as, they get fined because they're not following the rules. Now I'm the new homeowner. Do I get a little bit of grace period of learning your rules? on how to put out my trash?
Yeah. So the collection people, they will actually put like a sticky
tag.
Thank you.
Yep.
A tag on there.
Oh, we've been tagged enough times.
Okay, to say why they didn't take it. So they will tag it, and so they'll at least tell you why they didn't pick it up. And sometimes the other problem though is sometimes you have a relief driver. The garbage guy calls the driver that drives that truck, calls in sick that day. They have to, hey, guess what? It's your turn to do the garbage route. So then they send them out. Well, they don't know the route. So sometimes one half of a street will get missed. And so all you need to do is just call the street department and tell them, hey, I think our side of the road got missed today. And they'll send a truck out and they'll take care of that and pick that up because it does happen. I get calls occasionally. Yeah, I get calls occasionally. My garbage was, well, okay. Let's see what we can do about it. But they'll help out. But yeah, back to your question, they tag it as you said.
They'll tag it and just a simple phone call of, hey, I'm new to town. I didn't realize this. I mean, we always got tagged whenever our youngest came home from college and he wants to be the helpful kid and, took out the garbage. It's just a garbage can that you put out by the road, didn't understand the rules. But, we get tagged every single time he came home. But, trying to explain this to a new homeowner,
right?
Hopefully there's a grace period. I know when we moved into our new place, our first garbage can pickup, we watched the garbage guy came over, he grabbed the garbage and then he starts writing a note. I mean, pulls out a piece of paper, starts writing a note. And we're out there going, hey, we're new. What did we do? We'll fix our problem. What happened? And he's like, oh no, I just noticed that the nice lady who lived here wasn't here. And we always waved hi to each other. And so I was just writing her a note. And I'm like, oh, well. New homeowners. Nice, yeah. So now we watch for Matt to come by with the garbage trucks, and it's always fun when the garbage people.
Well, absolutely.
Well, and just the difference in logistics here in Grand Rapids, they hire that out to, Veolia. And it's neat that the city has their own vehicles to kind of facilitate that and keep the city nice and clean. Kind of like street sweepers too. Mm-hmm. With the curb and gutter and the storm sewer system, you have to have the street sweepers to keep the streets clean.
Mm-hmm. And the really nice thing, too, is when we're doing those city events like Blossom Fest that's coming up, we do have those nice garbage cans to move to all those appropriate places to accommodate that many people. And no longer are we trying to haul, these big 50-gallon heavy steel barrels throughout the city. So that way we can have them and they roll really nicely and it's really great. And it looks pleasing too for visitors coming in for events like that our city does have really nice looking garbage cans.
Yeah, they are. We're talking nice looking garbage because they are.
They are.
They're not, we kind of all were wondering how this was going to be received. And, there's a lot of pessimistic people that, this is ridiculous. And we've not really heard a lot of complaints.
Oh, and here's a really good question. So I bought a new house and the family before me had the little garbage cans. So there's two different sizes. So now my house has got a little garbage can, but now I'm a family of 5 and we obviously go through more garbage. Is there an opportunity to upgrade to that larger garbage can and vice versa? If I'm a single person now and we have the gigantic one, can I downgrade to a little one?
Yes, I believe there's an expense to it though.
Okay.
But you can also, like a big family, you can buy a second garbage can. So if you need 2, you can have that option. And you can call our street department. They can kind of fill you in on, how that process can work.
Okay.
But yeah, there is a exchange process. And, that was one of the questions is, do you offer more than one size? Or is it just simpler to have just one? I think the 96 gallon, I think that's what the bigger ones are. And
yeah, but you get some stuff in there and then trying to roll it out to the street. If you're a smaller statured person, not quite as strong, that gets to be a challenge.
Your 10-year-old child wants to help out and be responsible and wants a chore.
I think that's kind of hard. Kind of brought the thought into having the 2 different sizes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I got for garbage.
That's kind of hard. We only talk so much about garbage.
Right. I mean, they are very beautiful garbage cans. So if you haven't seen them, drive by a street and check out our garbage cans.
Yeah, they all have an ID tag on them. So, if there's a problem or it comes up missing and somebody took your garbage and down the road at somebody else's house. They're all
Well,
they're
these
all
windstorms
specific.
that you get, I mean, they really can get all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always appropriate to make sure that you have the right garbage can at the right house.
Yeah, and one of the largest workman's comp issues was the old way we picked up garbage, because they used to take everything but your house. You put a couch out there, they would take that, and that's a lot of our guys got injured that way.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to move that stuff around, and so that was probably one of the big drawbacks is going to the single stream, or the garbage pickup that we're doing now, is that we lost the bulk pickup. And some council members have, and I remember talking in a council meeting, trying to figure out a process that how we could help out and take some of those bulk items. There are services out there that can help you with that, because we don't want to see those end up, in our roadways, in our ditches, and or on somebody's property, on some woods. But people still have a need to try to get rid of them. So, you can take them to the landfill yourself if you have a family member with a truck. It's a very nominal fee too to take even a truckload of stuff over there. And they have, if you go during the week, they have bins right down by the weigh station, so you don't have to go up on the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you end up going on a Saturday, you might have to take a trip on the hill, and people are always concerned about that with flat tires. But otherwise, during the week, you can pretty much use one of the big dumpsters that they send you on.
Well, excellent.
So, of course, we would like to thank Mayor Shane Blaser for coming over and chatting with us this week. This was only the first part, and stick around for hour number 2 and hear what the mayor has to discuss. There are some very exciting things, some exciting topics that are going around here in Wisconsin Rapids, so be sure to come back, keep the dial here on AM 1320 WFHR for hour number 2. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for listings of homes that are for sale, check out our website at myrapids.com. You can always contact Carrie at her cell phone number, 715-323-2577. Or if you're looking for area information, check out myrapids.info. Of course, we're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and podcast if you like to listen to this show again. And if you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. These shows are pre-recorded, but we would love to get your input. Send an email to myrapidsradio@gmail.com. Like I said, stick around for hour 2, and we'll catch you in a bit.